Thank you, Slip. Always a pleasure. Uh-oh. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the Namakwa Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Loveland. I am Kathy Hartman, one of the worship associates. AnnMarie Kajencki is our worship associate in training. She's going to do a masterful job today. We're glad you're all here. This is a Come As You Are congregation, and you are welcome here just as you are. I want to extend a special thank you to anyone who's just visiting for the first or second time. If you'd like to stay in touch with us, check in with the folks at the back table and they'll make sure you get a reasonable amount of communication from us. Here at Namakwa UU, we foster a beloved community that celebrates diversity, strives for peace and justice, acts mindfully for the good of the planet, and inspires spiritual growth through a free and loving search for truth and meaning. We honor the ground we walk upon and acknowledge this land as the traditional and ancestral homeland of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples. We recognize and honor the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land and vow to reconcile the deep wounds that still shape our world today. A few announcements. Next Sunday, June 2nd, join us for our annual flower communion ceremony. We celebrate the beauty and hope in our community. If possible, bring at least one flower to combine with all the others in our beautiful communal bouquet. Reverend Dana will be leading the service along with Linda Lyons and Mim Neal, our worship associates. And we've got some magnificent irises this year. I mean, I think they are just spectacular. So don't everybody bring irises, but if you do, bring your most unusual one. We had such a big hit with our first Dances of Universal Peace that we're going to do it again, Saturday, June 1st from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Join Reverend Dana as we sing and dance simple songs and chants from faith traditions around the world. We are honored to have a very well-known international dance leader and Reverend Dana's personal mentor, Gayan Gregory Long, leading the dances. All ages welcome, no experience necessary, child care available, $20 suggested donation. We remember our good friend Gene Decker, who passed away a few weeks ago, and his celebration of life will be on Monday, June 3rd at 10 a.m. in the Laurie Student Center Grand Ballroom. So there are a bunch of us that are planning to go, and Mickey is going to have a car, and Brian Jarvis is going to have a car, and you're going to meet here at 9:15 is my understanding. Yes? And we probably need more drivers if people want to carpool. Brian is coordinating that, so if you want to also have a car here, and we'll get the word out during the week also. Joys and Sorrows comes up every Sunday. This week we'll have people coming forward. If you don't want to come to the mic, there is a form at the back that the ushers can get to you if you want to fill out. This week we have lots going on, so check the calendar. Thursday, May 30th at 5 p.m. I'm inviting all the women to the garden party at my house, around the corner and down the block. Potluck, a little gardening. We're trying to get the yard ready for Laurel and Francie and Claire and the big party on June 9th. What's the date? I don't remember the date. 16th. Oh, another. Gives me an extra week. Whew. Okay, don't forget to check all the things that are on the calendar. Many thanks to everyone involved in today's service. And I would like to introduce our guest minister, the Reverend Ruth Rinehart. She is a Unitarian Universalist minister, trained as an interim minister, and also working as a community minister focused on long-term healing and recovery from addictions. Reverend Ruth believes in the healing nature of connection, person to person, real-time, face-to-face. She lives in Golden, Colorado with her husband Dave and enjoys their permaculture suburban food production. Welcome, Reverend Ruth.
Thank you, Kathy, and it is lovely to be here with you today. Years ago, when I was still a seminarian, I was backup pastoral care when Laurel took a sabbatical, so I've been in the building, but never on a Sunday morning. It's lovely to see you all here today. And I don't usually wear flip-flops on a Sunday morning, and I don't usually have a cast, but I got bucked off a horse 2 weeks ago, and it's a miracle that I'm here with no broken bones. It's great. So for opening words from the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker, even when our hearts are broken by our own failure or the failure of others cutting into our lives, even when we have done all we can and life is still broken, there is a universal love. There is a universal love that will never break faith with us, and it never will. So please join us in saying our affirmation.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its call. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Let us share the spirit of love by greeting those around you.
There's always just that feeling of like, it's time to walk out.
We laugh, we cry, we live, we die, we dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something there to which we can belong. Need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need close friends we can go where we go. And we believe in
It should be on. There it is. Okay. I didn't want you to hear me sing. Okay, I've got a story. Do we have any little, what's the matter? I think it's good. I think it's good. You can't hear it? Well, I'll try and keep my head down. It's not an easy position, though. Anyway, I have a story. I don't see a single little person here. Well, I see some, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to read it because it's a beautiful story. It's called I Am Love, A Book of Compassion by Susan Verde. And she writes, "This book is my love letter to the world, as each one of us is worthy of love in all its forms and expressions, and we are all capable of adding light to the world when we listen to our hearts and choose love. When I see someone going through a storm," pages, "of hurt and unfairness, of anger and sadness, when the sun disappears and the skies grow dark, and I see there is fear, I ask myself, what can I do to help let the light back in? I put my hands on my heart and listen. And that is where I find the answer. I have compassion. I act with tenderness. I am love. I can listen and not say a word. I can be there. Love is being present. I can hug and hold and say, everything will be all right. Love is comfort. I can give thanks for all I have and am able to share. Love is gratitude. I can keep my mind and body safe and healthy. Love is taking care of me. I can express what's important to me. Love is creative. I can know that no one is perfect. Love is understanding. I can do my best to make things better when something is wrong. Love is effort. I can celebrate those I've loved before. Love is remembering. I can find goodness in a kind word, a helping hand, or a shared smile. Love is tiny gestures. I can breathe in the air that the whole world shares and know all creatures are made from the very same stardust. Love is connection. When the clouds roll in, for others and for me, I know there is something I can do. I can let my heart lead the way. I am love. You are love. We are love. And with love, we will weather the storm and light up the sky together. Too good to miss. We are going to sing those non-existent, invisible children out.
For the chalice lighting, this is a poem by Rosemary Watola Traumer titled The Awakening. When we wake, all people are rivers, though some are torrents and some mere trickles, though some break down obstacles and some slowly meander. We move from our beds through the banks of the world, our lives following the course of the day. Our streams merge with the streams of others. We are every day more each other and still somehow ourselves. If only we could trust our uniting currents as unthinkingly as the rivers follow gravity, always with the least amount of resistance. How long will we pretend we are separate? How long before we find ourselves joined in the communion of the sea, all our waters, one water, every waking an invitation? May we no longer pretend we are separate. May we trust our uniting currents. Each week, you support the work of this congregation and all the ways we live our values in the world through your own generosity. In addition to supporting this church, half of your donations support a local nonprofit organization helping us to make a difference beyond our walls. The next 2 months, we are giving to the Big Thompson Watershed Coalition as part of our shared values to honor the interdependent web of all existence and covenant to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation. The Big Thompson Watershed Coalition's goal is to bolster the health and integrity of this critical river system for the wild and natural communities that depend on it through engaging watershed residents and completing on-the-ground conservation project communities. Will the ushers please come forward as we listen to Slip?
For your generosity. We'll be hearing from the Big Thompson Watershed Coalition in a week or two. We'll have someone here. They will certainly appreciate all you've done. Thank you. So each week we come together to share with each other parts of our lives that we don't experience. That's why we hire the ministers. They get paid the big bucks. They know what's going on all the time. Right. anyway, we're going to share joys and sorrows today and let people in on what's going on. Do we have anything written, Sharon? Do we have anything written? Okay. I will bring you up to date. Sue Matthews had a pacemaker put in on Monday, and she's doing really well. She's got a belt around her chest and the arm that's closest to the pacemaker where it has to heal. And you know, Sue, she's so expressive, so it's hard for her, but she's keeping that belt on. So, anyone else have something they'd like to come up and share with us?
I'm going to celebrate end of school year. It was an honor for me to serve in the district. It was very difficult with a middle school class. So the joy is I'm done. And I said to them, I would be happy to come back half-time as just a curriculum specialist instead of teacher. My days of classroom teacher, I feel like, are done. And the universe said, you are released. We don't have the funding to bring you back next year. So that actually felt like a relief to me. Like I felt committed to that school, and I would have come back, yes. But then I was released. So I'm on to bigger and better things, you guys. Maybe the Poudre Learning Center, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Linda, we hold you in our hearts, and we wish the best for you, and thank you to you and all the teachers, people who have been teachers. I don't know how you do it, but yeah, thank you. Anyone else? John?
Yeah, that brought me up here. But it's Friday was my last day as a reading tutor in the school district, and I served as an AmeriCorps member, and it's not a sorrow. It was a joy, but it was very challenging, teaching and being in the schools. But I wanted to bring up a person that I was working with, a second grader. I won't say her name, but her middle name is River. And I've been hearing that word over and over this morning. And she was a delightful child, but in a way misunderstood. And she'd been labeled as almost like a troublemaker. And she and I got along. She would do this when she left. And every day, it was like, at the last day, she said she wishes I was her father, her second father. But it's a very big experience. I have taught all my life, and coming back in elementary school is very different, and it just shed a new light that, I don't know, I feel it here so much. And the fact there are no children here is not a big problem, because it's this group that's really the essence of this meeting and this congregation. And the kids will come. They're very conscious. They're here even now, so it's okay. I guess my sorrow is, it's like my partner's not here today, and she's in her garden, and it's okay. It's like, that's all right. God, it's crazy, because I always come up here and I can't keep a clear mind, and it's like, I've never been like this. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We hold you in our heart, John.
Thank you.
Thank you for saying all those wonderful things. Thank you for your
Thank
teaching.
you. I'm here because you're here, and I want to hear your message. Thank you.
Thank you. We hold you in our heart, John, and your wife in her garden. Anyone else like to come forward?
On the note of school and special kids, on Friday, something happened with our granddaughter. Many of you know her, Kaylee, and on-time graduation, and yeah, it was very special, and also including a special ceremony in the morning in addition to the afternoon graduation for special honors celebration. So she was one of the 14 people from her class who were 17, some number, yeah. Anyway, it was a great day. It didn't look like it would happen some days, but in the end, it was a great day. So it's a joy.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve and Karen, for all you have done for your grandchildren. We hold you in our hearts.
Hi, I'm Tam. So a couple weeks ago, I went down to Mexico to the cancer treatment place, and I got treatment again. And if you all could help me out with this, because I think you know the words. I feel good. Da-na-na-na-na-na.
We missed you, Tam. We hold you in our heart, and we hope for continued healing. You look great. Anyone else? Anyone on Zoom? No Zooms? Okay. Oh, yeah, you betcha.
Thank you. My older son is in a desperately sad place, and I don't know how to help him, but if you send some good thoughts to him, I would be grateful.
Thank you, Mim. We will do that. No, it's been a long journey, hasn't it? Yeah. We hold you in our hearts. Well, for all those thoughts spoken and unspoken and those things going on that you might not want to, might be too tender to say, we hold you in our hearts too, as well as the people in Palestine and Israel and Ukraine and anywhere else that people are hurting in this world.
In this time of meditation, feel free to close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. Take a deep breath, deep breath in, and come into your body. Settle in. Notice. Where are your feet? Are they flat and touching the floor? Grounding you to Gaia, our great Mother Earth. Can you feel the clothes touching your skin? Notice your breathing, just normal, in and out. Come into your body. It is where you live. It is where we appreciate life, where we experience love and trauma and healing, connection, everything of importance we experience in our bodies, these miracles that get us through. Settle in your spot. Feel your weight, your density, the space that you occupy. Breathe into that space, and as you exhale, pay attention to that breath. Life, as it enters into you and then departs. Breathe in, breathe out. Allow your breath to focus your attention on your source of knowing, your source of comfort and strength. Rest your mind there. in and with your deepest source. We are breathing together, and I imagine that life-giving oxygen that pours into us, bringing it all throughout our body. I think of that as akin to the love that surrounds us all the time. We are breathing in love and our hearts align. Life-giving, life-affirming. This gathered community here in this room. Thank you. So, love at the center. That's the title of this reflection. And the subtitle, which isn't printed anywhere, the subtitle is The Transient and the Permanent in Unitarian Universalism. So here's the graphic. It's related to the proposed revisions of Article 2 in the bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association. I know it's hard to read the words, from where you are. So this image is of a chalice with an overlay of the word love over the flame, with 6 outstretched arms that create the petals that surround love and form this flower shape. Clockwise, these values are: interdependence is in orange, equity is the red petal, transformation is in purple, pluralism is blue, generosity is green, and justice is yellow. That's the order of them in this graphic. And I just want to point out generosity, which hasn't been named up until now as a value of Unitarian Universalists. And I deeply love that you give your plate away, half your plate away each Sunday. That is a beautiful embodiment of generosity and abundance. So who here has ever attended a UUA General Assembly? Okay, a couple of you. And who is attending this upcoming all virtual General Assembly? Good, a couple of you. Well, there's not enough time to address this fully in the time we're given for a sermon on a Sunday morning, but this is dear to my heart, and it is very important for Unitarian Universalism and our national association. And you can find a lot of information about it on the UUA website. So the subtitle of my reflection today is The Transient and the Permanent in Unitarian Universalism. And it refers back to an 1841 title of a sermon by the Reverend Theodore Parker. His title was The Transient and the Permanent in Christianity. He wrote a beautiful sermon in a very different time, in a very different style, and really in a different religion than we are in today here in this room. At that point, Unitarians were still very much Christian. Today, we honor Christians, liberal Christians in our midst, but we're not all Christian here. Theodore Parker preached about the eternal truth of the message of Jesus as the permanent in Christianity. The transient in Christianity is the differing form, the different cultural faiths, different belief systems. Parker ultimately believed that the words of Jesus, the message of Jesus, transmitted ultimate truth that was actually not dependent on Jesus, the person, to be the ultimate divine truth. Theodore Parker believed there was but one true religion. Now, I don't agree with him on that, but I understand his thinking in his time and place. He preached this 1841 sermon that even if Jesus had never lived, the underlying and ultimate truth of his spiritual leadership, the message, would still exist, would still be true. Now, I do not want to seem arrogant in comparing our faith, Unitarian Universalism, a 62-year-old faith to be exact, I think. I hope you will allow me this comparison with a religion that is over 2,000 years old. I can do this because Theodore Parker is one of our Unitarian ancestors. Our two Christian threads, Unitarianism and Universalism, they are both Christian heresies for which people were shunned, kicked out of their churches, jailed, tortured, and executed in times past. These two threads merged in 1961. Actually, I think it was 63 years ago, the Unitarians and the Universalists. Our heritage, though, that theological heritage of Unitarianism and Universalism goes back to Origen, who was born in the year 185 of the Common Era. But the faith as we know it today was born in 1961 with the consolidation of the Unitarians and the Universalists. So what is transient and what is permanent in our faith? Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. There we go. Okay. So sorry. So sorry. It's the first time I've been out. Okay. So how do we get from pre-Civil War and the Christian Theodore Parker to today's call for love being at the center of our values? I believe our faith rises to meet the day, to meet the world that emerges around us. And because our national faith, the Unitarian Universalist Association, has bylaws that are revised from time to time, and because there is a substantial revision that will be addressed at our upcoming General Assembly, I will look at these bylaws as a way to ask what is transient and what is permanent in Unitarian Universalism, and how have we arrived here today with love at the center of our values. So let us look a bit at the history of Article 2 in the bylaws of the UUA. Article 2 is where the principles and the sources are. So do you all have hymnals out there, the gray hymnals? What I'd love for you to do is pick up a copy of that gray hymnal. And turn in a few pages until you find on the left page, "We the member congregations." There we go. You have to go past, there we go. So here is where our current principles and sources reside in our hymnal. This is a great book to get to know. This is Unitarian Universalism right here. So at the time of consolidation in 1961, the bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association called for a review of this Article 2, where the principles and sources are, a review every 15 years. It was actually 23 years after the merger that they were revised, and it has now been 37 years since that revision in 1985. So this revision is long overdue. In 1961, Article 2 contained just 6 principles. The first one was to strengthen one another in a free and disciplined search for truth as the foundation of our religious fellowship. This is very similar to our current 4th principle. after the Article 2 revision in 1985, after years of discussion and amendments. The second principle in 1961 was to cherish and spread the universal truths taught by the great prophets and teachers of humanity in every age and tradition, immemorially summarized in the Judeo-Christian heritage as love to God and love to man. Now, a couple things to note there. So hearkening back to Theodore Parker's sermon about these universal truths from the Judeo-Christian tradition. Perhaps you hear the gendered and theistic nature of this principle, the love of God and the love to man. And perhaps you also hear the phrase Judeo-Christian. In seminary, we would use this word hegemony that would apply to this conflation of two religions, Judaism and Christianity. The hegemony of Christian dominance, because to Jews there is no Judeo-Christian tradition, right? To Jews there is no Old Testament because there is no New Testament. Only Christians use the words Old Testament and Judeo-Christian. In the 1985 revision of Article 2, this religious heritage was moved into the sources, the fourth source, Jewish and Christian teachings, which call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves. The Reverend Katie Kandarian, former minister at the Durango congregation, used to say, the juice is in the sources. And here we do find love in this source. And also the recognition that Jewish and Christian teachings cannot be conflated into one tradition. Okay, now back to 1961. Trying not to make this sound like a lecture, really, but so back in 1961, the third principle was to affirm, defend, and promote the supreme worth of every human personality, the dignity of man, and the use of the democratic method in human relationships. So there's that word man again. The first part of this original principle became the 1985 first principle, the well-loved inherent worth and dignity of every person, not just men. And the use of the democratic method was shifted to the current fifth principle, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. The original fourth source back in 1961, to implement our vision of one world by striving for a world community focused on ideals of brotherhood, justice, and peace. Male gender again, our current sixth principle took the gender out of it with the principle of the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. The original fifth principle back in 1961 was to serve the needs of member churches and fellowships, to organize new churches and fellowships, and to extend and strengthen liberal religion. This language is not in the principles anymore at all. It's really the purpose of the UUA, and that is in a separate section of Article 2. The original sixth principle in 1961 was to encourage cooperation with men of goodwill in every land. Now, patriarchy was the water they were swimming in 1961 when these principles were, in 1961. They did not recognize the pain and the exclusion that people felt by the words, when they were excluded by the words man and men. And words matter. We know words have always mattered to Unitarian Universalists. The UU Women's Federation worked very hard on the 1985 revisions to make them much more inclusive. And we see this now in our second principle, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. In the 1985 revision of the principles and the creation of the six sources introduced an entirely new principle, our beloved seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Okay, so have you been following this? The original first principle became the current fourth principle. The original second principle became our fourth source. The original third principle became our current first principle and our current fifth principle. The original fourth principle became our current sixth principle. The original fifth principle is really the purpose of the UUA, and that was shifted to a second separate section of Article 2. Finally, the original sixth principle became our current second principle, and then we did add a seventh principle in 1985. So we have little tests on the way out for when you leave. In this transition from the original principles to the revisions in 1985, the patriarchy was removed from the words. The Christian dominance was taken out. Our beloved seventh principle, the interdependent web, was added. Words have always mattered to Unitarian Universalists. Now, we all know there is a tedium to bylaws. Yes. There's also a ministry in bylaws work. So for those of you attending General Assembly this year, if you're a delegate, I hope you pay attention to this in the business sessions. And for those of you that didn't raise your hand saying you were going to General Assembly, you can go without cost for the business segments. You can do that. I think it's a donation. So there is a slog of governance, right? The work of governance. But it's so important to this congregation, this beautiful congregation, keeping it going, to civic engagement, your town and your county and the state and the national level. Currently, our 7 principles do not contain the word love. There is ministry in love, right? The love you see in this community. The proposed revisions to Article 2 ask us to put love at the center of Unitarian Universalist values. And it all makes sense to me, although there are people who are passionately attached to the 7 principles, the way they are worded today, and those 6 sources, as if they were the permanent in Unitarian Universalism, which obviously I don't agree, but in the proposed revision, we will no longer have those principles and sources. Most of the language, though, has been included in the new values, each of which, and I love this, each of those values include a covenant for how we will live into the values and how we will be with each other. We are a covenantal religion, not a creedal religion. We don't have a creed that we recite over and over again that we have to submit ourselves to religiously. We recognize a great diversity of beliefs, but we covenant to walk together in religious community. Now, if you are like me, you might need a little memory trick to remember things, a mnemonic. So the values, the petals, the values, love, and then the petals that surround them, I have appreciated a mnemonic that has emerged to help me and many others remember the values. I will say it took me a while to appreciate the acronym, just heads up here. It's not in the same order as these petals, but it does help me remember those 6 values. So do you want to hear the acronym? Jet pig. Justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, independence, and generosity. Jet pig. So it helps me, and it does help many others. It's great with the kids, Many Unitarian Universalists, religious educators, lay people, artists, and ministers have begun using jet pig, and some of the creations are adorable. Here is this is a lapel pin that was designed by a colleague of mine. And then next one, here's a colleague in Florida. the beach jet pig. And then one little more, I'll give you one more. And a lot of folks are doing this, they get little stuffed animals of the pigs and put a little backpack on. That's the jet, that powers the pig. So let's come back now to that beautiful flower chalice graphic with the 7 values with love at the center. So, what do you think? You can remember? What's the J? What's the value for J? Justice. E. Equity. T. Transformation. Y'all know this. P. Pluralism. I. Interdependence. And G. Generosity. I love that as one of our stated, much more lifted up value. With love at the center. With love at the center. There are 4 amendments that will be voted on. Each of these 4 amendments needed to be affirmed by the boards of at least 15 member congregations that were certified in 2023. And 2 of them are about revising the language of the equity section. And then 2 of them are about adding 2 more values. One is peace and one is reason. So you can learn all of that. You can go online and search it. You can be part of a discussion forum that's still going on. Love at the center. And that beautiful book, that beautiful story that Kathy read. Love is comfort, and love is gratitude. Love is creativity. Love is understanding. Love is effort. Love is action. Love is remembering in tiny gestures. Love is connection. Connection. I have this ministry with addictions, and there's a wonderful work that says the opposite of addiction isn't necessarily abstinence or sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection. That is the opposite. That is how we heal, through connection. Love at the center. Would that all of my thoughts and my words and my deeds could be grounded in love every day. Would that I could live that out. It's an aspiration. It's hard to do, and I need reminders. That's why I like to come to church every week, right? Because I need reminders of how to be lifted into my better self, my higher self. We're also imperfect, right? We know this in congregational life because humans are messy. Human relationships are messy. We're so imperfect, but we covenant to walk together in this religious community, on this religious path. Blessings to you on your journey of faith. May we always keep love at the center. May you know that you are surrounded by love always. Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here today with you. And we will sing a beloved hymn, Blue Boat Home. Join us. Yes.
Oh, below me I feel no ocean, standing by the mountains and plains.
invite you to reach out and connect with one another in whatever ways you are comfortable for the chalice extinguishing. This is a poem by the Reverend Dr. David Breeden, "To be the welcome we crave." Let's be the welcome we crave, open hearts, arms outstretched. Let's embody radical welcome, unquestioning love. Let's be the welcome we crave, deeply hearing voices and hearts. Let's be the welcome we crave, enriching, understanding. Let us embody the community we crave. And please join us for coffee and conversation in the fellowship behind the sanctuary.